Hello and welcome to episode 61 of the Good Guy Podcast. Apologies for the delay. It's Tuesday the 16th of June. I've just burped. It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Encoding overloaded. Oh no, it seems okay. Jesus Christ. This might be jumpy if you're on YouTube. Let me know if it is. I don't really know what the fucking crack is. I'm trying to get this camera to work. Hello to the camera. But I don't think my laptop's quite up to scratch with processing all of the things that are going on. So it might be a little bit out of sync, might be whatever. If you're audio, you just couldn't give a fuck about the amount of money that I'm spending on video equipment. But it's good for sketches as well. So, welcome to episode 61 of the Good Guy Podcast. I was very stressed about recording this episode. I'll do the plugs off the top, and then we'll do some disgusting. Share the podcast. Share it, please. Nah, go for it. You're fucking legends. I know everyone's been fucking sharing all the sketches and stand-up clips, and I really fucking appreciate that. I should really just turn that away so I don't have to look at it. Go away, phone. I don't want you here. This is the Good Guy Podcast. If you're new, unlikely, but if you're new, hello. This would be a weird episode for you to join at. I would recommend another episode. No, this will be fun. I have some insightful things to say. Maybe, but also probably not. I remember there was something. I just need to remember to type in these things. What awful broadcasting. Just remembering the thing for the podcast clip that we'll make later. It's been a little while since I've done a solo podcast because I've been trying to fight racism. So I don't know how I feel about anything. It's very strange. Look, fucking just follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. I couldn't be bothered with the plugs this week. But I think I'm in a good mood. Who knows? It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, of all genders. Welcome to the Good Guy Podcast. This is the sound of my beard on the microphone. I watched back an old clip of me doing the podcast, and I was questioning whether what I had counted as a beard at the time. And I don't think it did, but I think this does. I think that counts as a beard. There's a nice bit of ASMR for you folks. I hope the sound quality is okay. I've been trying to fiddle with all this stuff. Look, I'm just trying to make it better for you, okay? Stop fucking complaining, you cunt. I don't know how long this podcast is going to be. Maybe not an hour. Maybe shorter, but also maybe an hour. We'll fucking see what happens. Because it's a Tuesday, I haven't taken the dog out for a walk today. I didn't even take him out for one yesterday because he was whiteying everywhere. He was throwing up, and Dad took him to the park, and apparently he had some picnickers Haribos. So that would be why he's whiteying everywhere. So I didn't want to take him out again in case. But I just he didn't seem up for it. He seemed a bit down, you know. I've also decided that when he's indoors, my dog is an absolute fucking cat of a dog. He just potters about and will come over and demand attention off you when he wants it, but won't fucking... He never gives any affection. And he'll come over and he'll want food, but then he'll just fuck off he'll demand scratches. He'll lie on your belly and be pawing at your hands and be like, scratch me! Fucking scratch me, you fucking fruit! He's a homophobe, my dog. And then when he's had enough scratches, he'll just walk away like a little fucking cat. What a shitbag. Oh God, I really hope this video is processing properly. Oh, fuck it. If it's not, it's not. This week I wanted to talk about... I've felt very strange and stressed and weird about lockdown recently. It could be because I've been off the green cola and not on and on Coke Zero, which I think has more caffeine in it. So I've been very anxious and shitting my selfie. Shitting my selfie. Shit my selfie. I also came up with a good pun that Instagram lives matter. There's something there. We'll work it out when racism's over. Which isn't going to be soon, by the way. People keep saying hashtag end racism now. Good luck with the now bit of it. It's going to take a fucking while. And that's not me being like, just you fucking try it. I'll dig my heels in and still be racist for as long as you want, you goddamn ethnics. But you know what I mean. Oh yes, I should talk about that as well. Yes, I will talk about that. I'll talk about racism. God, I really haven't planned this. I've been in such a strange headspace because I did a couple interviews in a row, and I am really enjoying the interviews, and I hope you guys are as well. I've got some good, nice people giving nice feedback on the interviews. If you haven't checked out the interviews and you think you just enjoy the wonderful mind of Vittorio Angelone, unlikely. The people I talk to tend to be much more, not more interesting, but you'll get a different perspective. And also I talk a lot in those episodes as well, because it's not really an interview, it's more of a conversation. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I'm not better than anyone. Except you fucking cunt. If I wasn't better than you, would you be listening to me right now? Dickhead. Way to alienate your audience. Vittorio. I'm sorry. I love you. You're much smarter than me. You might not be. You might be a fucking idiot. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Be who you are. That's the title. The title of this podcast just says living in the moment. It won't be the title of the episode of the podcast. The title will be episode 61. Bill Cosby. That's it. It'll be something about Bill Cosby. Because that'll be the I've got a podcast clip. It's essentially a bit of stand-up that if you've come because of one of the podcast clips of me ranting about something, you're out of luck. That's not what I actually do. I cut those together deliberately to catfish you into listening to my podcast. I'm sure 8 minutes into the podcast you would have gathered that by now. But we also have someone working on the intro to the podcast, which I'm very excited about. Can you tell I'm feeling rather scatterbrained at the minute? Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to settle down. I've definitely been spending too much time on my phone, vocalizing thoughts. My screen time's obscene. It's pushing 12 hours a day, which is just ridiculous. And I do work on my phone. That's the problem. It's like my brother was like, oh, it's weird because we can't really tell when you're doing work or when you're just pissing about on your phone. And I was like, hey, me neither. It all blurs. It all blurs into one. Because writing jokes on Twitter, that's part of my job. Being in touch with the collective consciousness and culture and having my finger on the pulse. That's part of culture. What? That's part of my job. But you don't have to scroll through Twitter for 10 hours a day, Vittorio. You know? Difficult decisions to be made. Apologies. I probably shouldn't look at myself. I'm going to flip that round. Hopefully I didn't touch anything on the way around there. So now I'm just staring right down the barrel of the lens. Do you like that, do you fucking cunts? You just love your McDonald's anyway, don't you just conscious? Oh, I really fucking hope this is working. If this isn't working, I'll be very upset at the video. Look, I'm just going to plow on, and if the video is fucked, just jump on Spotify or iTunes. Living in the moment. I remember in 2014 or 2015, whenever the Tories got in, with David Cameron, I believe, myself and a few friends from uni went to the marches, the anti-Tory marches in London and the protests, and very exciting, very fun, enjoyed muchly, and felt good to be part of something. But I remember at the time, my girlfriend at the time being like, "Oh, I think you're just getting swept up in something. Like, I don't really think you know what you're talking about that much, and like you're not, like, you're just kind of getting caught up in the movement or the moment or the movement." And that's not what she said. Oh, that's not what she said. Feminism. And I've thought about that a lot. I think that sentence had a real profound effect on me. It made me very scared to engage in anything, wasn't it, when I wasn't entirely informed upon it. And that's a good position to come from. It's a good headspace to be in, to think, oh, I should get informed about this. And that's what everyone keeps saying at the minute about racism, is you could do your learnings. That's not what people say. People say get educated, but I would say do your learnings. Yeah, so oh my lordy Lou. I keep finding bits of my vocabulary are racist, and I'm not running about saying the Edward, N-word, Prince N-word, N-word, N-word Scissorhands. Oh, that's a fucking sketch idea. N-word Scissorhands. That's a fucking. What other famous people are called Edward? N-word Scissorhands. What? Who else is called Edward? Edward. There's not many Edwards. There's a lot of Eddies, maybe, but it needs to be Edward for it to work. Edward. What's his fucking name off of Twilight? It's Robert Pattinson, but it's Edward something. I'm gonna type Edward into Google. I've been sidetracked. I'm sorry. I'm not. This is a great tangent. Edward Colston, the fucking statue guy. Edward Norton, Edward Snowden. Fuck, there's no good Edwards. Famous Edwards. Maybe N-word Scissorhands is the one. This really strikes me as one of those sketch ideas where I wake up tomorrow morning and go, what the fuck was I thinking? Eddie Murphy, he's Eddie though. Anyway, N-word Scissorhands. So it's not like I'm running about saying the N-word, but I keep like doubting everything I'm saying. Because I'm just checking my head moved on the monitor there just to make sure we're okay. I keep doubting everything I'm saying because like everything I say, that's just a turn of phrase that I don't really know the etymology of. I haven't Susie dented it. Like I'm like, oh fuck, where does that come from? The first one years ago, I was like, the phrase "hold on a cotton picking minute." Now, where do you think that comes from? My theory is that a cotton picking minute is actually a really fucking long time, because you'd be like, oh yeah, just go out in them fields and pick that cotton for a minute, and then it was 400 years of oppression. What about that? So that was the first one. And then my go-to word for like kind of playfully insulting someone in a playful way, playfully, was to call them a bozo. But it turns out that's got racial connotations as well. The word bozo. Who fucking knew that? Bozo was used as like a categorization of slave. As like muscular and unintelligent, which makes sense because you're a fucking bozo, all you fucking bozos. And I'm like, fuck, crazy. Like, so just doubting everything you say. And maybe that's good. Maybe this is me unlearning my racism. I thought about something where, because everyone's been talking about unlearning things. And this is, I keep having all these thoughts that aren't ideas for stand-up bits yet. But what I'm trying to do is collate them in a folder of my notes called stand-up. And they're like metaphors and general thinkings on life and comparisons that I'm making, and just trusting myself that if I just put enough of them together, then like let them work away in the back of my head, then something funny, if I sit down and kind of try and come up with a punchline and turn it into a bit, will come of it. And the one I've been working on recently is this kind of like thought of unlearning things. Is quite interesting because everyone keeps saying it's like it's very, very painful to learn things and unlearn things. Oh, Did I already do that? Fuck. Was I supposed to do? I can't remember what fucking stuff I've done on solo podcasts yet. Oh, that's some shit. Oh God, I don't know. But learning things is painful. I've written a poem about learning things being painful. Which will I subject you to a poem? Yes, I will. It's a short one. It's a short one. It's a short one. It's a short one. It's a short poem. It's a short poem. It's a short poem. Where is it? I've lost it. I have lost the short poem. Where the fuck is... There we go. I have been away and have come back. I have completed the hero's journey and have died 1,000 times over, each time to be born anew. That which I was, I am not, and that which I am, I hope not to be. For remaining to live as you are is a fate worse than the 1,000 deaths which the hero befalls to rise again. I hope to die 1,000 more deaths. I think I probably said that too fast. No offense to you, but I hope you took in something. Basically, it's just this idea that learning and unlearning is really painful because you have to look at your past self and disagree with them. The person you have been for 24 years up until now is someone that you now disagree with your newfound perspective and knowledge. And that's hard. That's hard to be like, I've been wrong. The person I defined myself as is wrong. So in a way, that person has to die in your mind. You have to lose that sense of identifying with that person who holds that ideology or that opinion. And then to move on, you're kind of reborn in the Phoenix. But the whole poem is just about how I would rather go through the pain of learning and new experiences and death 1,000 times and grow. And that's important. It's important to find out that you're wrong and learn. That's what happens. And I've been likening that kind of perspective on learning and unlearning being painful. And people always say like it's much easier to learn things when you're quite a young child. And what do they always say? They always say your brain is like a aubergine. Thank you. Sponge. You said sponge and you were right. I was trying to trick you by saying aubergine. So there's this weird... Yes, so when you're young, your brain is like a sponge. That's what people say. Everyone says that. That's what people say. Ooh, ooh. That's what people say. Ooh, ooh. And a hate is gonna hate. Check it off. Shake it off. Ooh, oh, oh. So when you're young, your mind is like a sponge and it absorbs information very easily. And then when you're old, post this podcast on your Instagram story. When you're old, you're it's harder to absorb things. And I think what it is that the same as a sponge. A new dry sponge. Have you heard SpongeBob SquarePants is gay? How mad. A new dry sponge. You pour water on it and it absorbs it all. That was such a great noise. I won't even try and recreate it. Filled up with water, but then it gets saturated with water, and then the water's kind of just rolling off it, and it's no longer absorbent because it has reached terminal capacity. And that's what happens when you're a kid. You're a dry sponge, and you absorb the fountain. You absorb information from the fountain of knowledge. Listen, that was so poetic. You absorb the information from the fountain of knowledge, and you're working through, and you're like taking it all in, taking it all in, taking it all, and there's all this room for it, and you're just expanding with knowledge. But then you get to a point where you're full, and new information arrives that contradicts the information that's already absorbed. And for it to go in, how do you get more water into a sponge? You have to squeeze it. And it's not a pleasant experience. It's like a oh no! That's the noise a sponge would make if you were squeezing it. It'd be like and it would piss itself. But that's the squeezing. You have to squeeze out some mislearned knowledge and unlearn it, and it's painful. It's a squeezing. It's an uncomfortable, pressured experience. And I think not enough. I'm aware that I'm not supposed to talk about racism, but I am also aware that I believe that, and this is, I'm not perfect. I'm not. I promise. These kind of things of like, white people need to shut up and unlearn, and people, left-wing people become very right-wing very quickly, kind of rhetorically and in their expressions. It's like if I was like, I'm finding it quite difficult to address my own internalized racism and unlearn some of the prejudices that I have learned. There's a lot of people out there at the minute that'd be like, well, fucking buck up and get on with it. Imagine what it's like for black people. Look, that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm finding it hard. Don't shout at me for acknowledging that I'm finding it hard. I think there needs to be more acknowledgement that it's difficult. There's this weird thing going on where any time you say anything's difficult, everyone goes, not as difficult as being a black person. And I don't know how helpful that is. You know? I think it's important not to equate your own experience to other people's who have had a worse time, but I think it's okay to find it hard. It's okay to not know how to feel or not know how to address your own prejudices or your own internalized racism. I think that's okay. I think it's okay to find that hard, and I think that's something I can do as a white person, because I don't know. Like, I mean, I know it would be a bit rich to expect your friends of colour to coddle you through the experience of unlearning racism, because they're going through a whole different kind of struggle and movement and trauma. I get that. Not universally. Like, the other thing you can't do is universalize the experience of people of colour. calling them people of colour is a bit ridiculous because it just means non-white. That's what that means. That's what people of colour means, non-white. Which used to not be the good thing to say. But now it is. But now it isn't. This culture war is very strange. So I'm aware that as a white person I can help people address or just be like, yo, it's okay if you're listening to this and you're having a hard time with this whole racism thing. That's okay. It's hard to address it in yourself. It's like, I don't think we should deny that. It's a very strange feeling to just feel like, fuck, I've been wrong for such a long time. And that's, yeah, I kind of just wanted to say that. And there's another thing happening, which is, it's just been playing on my mind. I don't even know if it's frustrating me. I'm just kind of navigating it at the minute, where if you're a regular listener of this podcast, you will know that I fucking harp on about anti-Irish prejudice and anti-Irish. I think it is racism. I think you can call it racism. Because people always say you can't be racist towards white people, but I don't think that holds true when you're talking about historical power structures and that kind of institutionalized prejudice, because I think that has existed for Irish people. I don't think that's unfair to say. I think there's truth in that. So I harp on about this thing all the time, and there's this space that has opened up where people are listening to experiences of prejudice, and they're awake to it, and they're receptive. And I just want to be like, oh, ow! I just fucking clapped on the mic stand. I just want to be like, hey, these are some of my experiences of prejudice, which is all tied up in the same kind of power structures and colonial attitudes that result in anti-black racism as well. Like I would say anti-black racism and anti-Irish racism are inexorably, I don't know what inexorably means. I think I'm using it right. Impossible to stop or prevent. Yeah, inseparably linked, inexorably. Inexorably seems like the cleverer word to say, so I'm going to say that. I think they're inexorably linked, and there's a lot of shared historical experience. Not entirely. I'm not like Irish people weren't necessarily slaves. They were never dehumanized to that level and seen as property, but they were in the cotton fields with African slaves. Like as servants, unpaid, but their children weren't born into slavery because they were white, but they were there. And apparently the African slaves used to slap their calves and make fun of them for getting sunburnt in the fields, which is funny. Just that feels like a kind of gallows humor almost, because like you're out in a cotton field, like going through some of the most horrific experiences any human has ever experienced, and you're still taking the piss out of each other. That's fucking great, isn't it? That's comedy. That's fucking beautiful. That's the importance of comedy. That's how much healing and strength and perseverance can come from comedy. That even in the worst of situations, people will make jokes and make fun of each other. I think making fun of each other is brilliant. I don't think that should go away. Obviously don't be fucking racially abusing people and saying, oh, so fucking joke, mate, fucking joke, fuck up. Not that any of you talk like that. I talk like that more than any of you. Not at the minute though. I'm talking in my fancy podcast voice. I don't know what my accent is anymore. God, this is really delving into the mind of a fucking madman. I apologise profusely. This is insane ramblings with the odd moment of profundity in it. There's something I wanted to say about that fucking protesting, and my girlfriend at the time telling me like to not get on. I'm still recovering from that kind of sentence, and learning it's okay to get swept up in it. I think our generation spends so much time, and I'm sure it's happened all along, but I can only speak from on my behalf. We spend so much time like wanting to be the next thing. When you're at primary school, you want to be at secondary school. When you're at secondary school, you want to be at uni. When you're at uni, you want to get a job and start earning money. And when you get a job and want to start earning money, you want to die. So that's funny. That's funny. That's funny. I'm gonna write that down. That's funny. Humans always striving to be the next thing. When you're at primary school, secondary to uni, uni to job, wanna die. Hopefully I remember what that means. That's a joke. I wrote a joke. I think we just need to indulge a bit more in the nonsense of the moment. Of going, like, not that going to protest is nonsense, but going to protest because you want to rebel and you want to shout and you want to make a difference and you want to change the world. I think that's great. I think that's so cool and fun. And just like, you don't have to be sensible. You don't have to, and I think it's the same with relationships. Like, you can tiptoe around and try and not get hurt and be scared of being vulnerable and committing yourself to someone and falling in love cataclysmically. Or you can just do it. Just fucking fall. And just enjoy the pain afterwards. There's something cool about being able to feel a depth of emotion in any direction. Not fun, but just do it. Just be who you are. Be a fucking idiot in school. Piss off your teachers. At uni, fucking drink too much, get stuff wrong, miss a lecture, do whatever. Fucking, this sounds like train spotting. Just do it. Make your dreams come true. I'm Shia LaBeouf now. I think we would get on, me and him, one day. It comes this Anthony Bourdain quote. I want to get it right. I think that's what sparked this thought in my brain. Body. Something about the body. Yoked. God, he was shredded at times. Most chefs are a little bit fat. Your body is not a temple, it's an amusement park. Enjoy the ride. I would say the same about your brain and your personality. Look, we're all going to be different. Apparently your frontal lobe doesn't compute or fully form until you're 25. I'm 24. Why the fuck are you listening to me? It's like, but I'm fine. I'm being stupid. I'm spending all my money on food. I'm not drinking at the minute, but that's just because that's what I'm enjoying at the minute, is not drinking. I'm just like, I'm fucking around. I'm not thinking about what's going to get me in the most stable career or job or whatever the fuck's going to happen. I mean, that's kind of inherent in what I want to do, but just sit in what you are and where you are. We are in lockdown. Let's make it fucking fun. Enjoy all the specificity of what's happening right now. Don't worry about looking back and being like, oh, I didn't really know what I was talking about when I went to that protest. Just go to the protest. Be part of something. Do something stupid. Or you'll just end up just bored and dead and alone and dead. That's what'll happen. I mean, I don't know how much advice you should take off Anthony Bourdain. He did kill himself, but He seemed to have a pretty good life. But then, would he kill himself if he had a good life? Yes, because depression is an illness. I need a drink of water. And then we will do a podcast clip and then I will finish. Because I need dinner and I'm doing bits tonight. Doing bits. Listen to me. Britain. Great Britain. Wait, I need to make sure this is podcast clippable. Great Britain is the Bill Cosby of countries. Listen to me. So, Bill Cosby, if you didn't know, throughout his career, would consistently tell people to stop swearing on stage, to pull up their pants, trousers, don't speak about obscene stuff, kind of stop to be clean, and had a family show and he was like America's dad and this whole thing, and he put himself forward as a kind of pillar of morality and civility and manners. And similarly, Great Britain does that. Great Britain say please. No, say thank you. Oh yes. Say please and thank you, and lift your little pinky when you're drinking your tea, and form an orderly queue, and don't cause a fuss. Just prim and proper, and keep calm and carry on, and manners. It's all about manners and respect. Britain puts itself forward. Britain puts itself forward as this pillar of morality and civility and manners. But with Bill Cosby, he put himself forward as this, but then historically, he raped all them women. And similarly, Britain, historically, raped all them women. So it's like, that's the podcast clip for this week. Did it make sense? Potentially. Did it not make sense? Also potentially. This is a pretty short. Oh no, I'll tell this story. I wanted to tell this story. Did I already tell that story? Did I tell the story about the DLR? I don't think I did. In 2016, I was on the DLR, the Docklands Light Railway, for people who don't London. That's why I wanted to talk about the anti-Irish thing. That's what I wanted to bring up on that. God, this is so scatty. I'm really sorry. I hope you're enjoying it. It's very raw. That's what the Guardian would say. Very raw. Very, very raw and self-reflective. I was on the DLR with my friend Jack, and we were going to Bank. That was where we wanted to get off. It's Bank Station. And my friend Jack said, we need to get off at the next stop. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, we need to, like, he kind of leant in and was like, we need to get off at the next stop. I was like, what the fuck? So we get off at the next one, and I was like, what was that about? And he was like, yeah, I heard these two guys further down the carriage being like, oh, that guy's fucking Irish. If he gets off a Bank, we'll kick the fuck out of him. 2016. It was 4 years ago. That still exists. And it came in, I hadn't thought about it in ages, but it came into my mind when I saw a Reddit post about someone in North London getting beaten up by statue defenders for being Irish. So if you're English, have a little think about how you talk to Irish people. Have a little think about potato jokes. Potato jokes are pretty fucking wild, in my opinion. English people making potato jokes to Irish people would be like German people making Holocaust jokes to Jewish people. Probably not the best fucking idea. And if you don't agree with me on that, you're wrong. Because English people really fucking... The English government really exacerbated, and it was almost an attempted genocide, the famine. It wasn't really a famine. Like, there was a blight on this potato crop, but there was more than enough food to serve Ireland. But England demanded that the food keep being exported to England so as not to ruin the English economy. And then Native American countries and countries all around the world sent aid to Ireland to help with this fucking calamity and this blight and attempted genocide. But this is why it's an attempt, because they sent aid, but the British like diverted the aid because they didn't want it to crash the economy, because if you put free food in the economy, then money loses value, and then Irish economy would collapse, which is the British economy at the time. So they let millions of Irish people die and have to move to America and die on boats and die because of the famine. And like, if you're an English person and you're still making famine or potato jokes to Irish people, have a little think about whether you would make the same joke about the Holocaust to a Jewish person. And do a little bit of reading on how the famine wasn't really a famine. And also on all the anti-black stuff. I mean, that's still very important, but I just wanted to get across on my own platform. I'm not fucking forcing anyone to watch this. Just that I think the whole, it's swept under the rug. It's gone like, oh, that's over. That happened for a while, but now it doesn't happen anymore. Like, everyone keeps references, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, and I'm like, we're on that fucking poster. Like, everyone's saying like, oh, black people weren't allowed into pubs, and I'm like, yeah, we're on that poster too, and I'm not equating things. I am fully behind the fact that I am not visibly Irish. I am audibly Irish, but it's just this whole thing, and I'm really kind of struggling with this. Like, I want to use this heightened sensitivity and receptiveness to stories of like prejudice and stereotyping, but I also don't want to minimize anyone else's experience that needs this moment to be their moment. So that's what we have for that. Episode 61 of the Good Guy Podcast. This has been great. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a bit fucking scatterbrained. It's a little bit short, 42 minutes. That's a shout out to the fucking old name of the podcast. We used to do 42-minute episodes. Maybe that's something we can bring back. Maybe keeps me a little bit more focused. I mean, that definitely isn't true of this episode, that this was at all focused. But I'm glad I did it. I just haven't done a solo podcast in a while, and my brain feels a lot better. Maybe that's why I've been feeling stressed for a couple of weeks. Just I haven't been able to unload my thoughts onto the world and onto this microphone. Hope you enjoyed. If you're a regular listener, jump on the Patreon, patreon.com/Vittorio Angelone. If you're on iTunes, look, just fucking do a review. Just do a 5-star review. Don't be a fucking cunt. Just fucking do it. Okay? It takes you no time whatsoever. And I can see them come in. I know whether you do it or not. I can see them. Just fucking do it. Okay? Just be sound. And post it on your Instagram story. Do a little screenshot. Post it on your Instagram story. Spread the word. I believe in you. You're all fantastic. I love you to bits. Up the fucking good guys.